In the dim glow of a rainy evening in the small town of Eldridge, Virginia, Elena Vasquez stood her ground. The air was thick with the scent of wet asphalt and unspoken rage. At 38, Elena was no stranger to confrontation. She had clawed her way out of a childhood marked by poverty in the barrios of San Antonio, Texas, where her single mother worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. Elena's sharp tongue and unyielding spirit were her armor, forged in the fires of survival. But tonight, that armor was about to be tested like never before. It started innocently enough, or as innocently as a routine traffic stop could be in a town where the local sheriff's deputies ruled like petty kings. Elena was driving home from her shift at the community college, where she taught history to wide-eyed freshmen. Her old sedan had a taillight out, a minor infraction that should have warranted a warning at best. But deputies Harlan Crow and Billy Ray Tucker weren't in the mood for leniency. They were the kind of men who thrived on power, the bullies who had tormented kids in high school and now wore badges to justify their cruelty. License and registration, Harlan barked, his flashlight blinding her as he leaned into the window. He was a burly man in his 40s, with a mustache that hid a perpetual sneer and eyes that gleamed with malice. Elena handed over her documents calmly. "Sure thing, officer, but mind telling me why you pulled me over?" Harlan exchanged a smirk with Billy Ray, a younger, wiry deputy with a tattoo peeking from his sleeve, a Confederate flag, faded but unmistakable. "Taillights out, ma'am, but more importantly, you were swerving a bit back there." "Been drinking?" Elena's eyes narrowed. She hadn't touched a drop, she was stone sober, exhausted from grading papers on the civil rights movement. "Swerving? I don't think so. And no, I haven't been drinking. Can we make this quick? I have a daughter waiting at home." Billy Ray chuckled, circling the car like a shark. "Feisty one, ain't she? Listen, lady, we ask the questions here." Something in Elena snapped. She had seen this before. Men like them, abusing their authority, especially against women who looked like her, with her olive skin and dark hair screaming of her Latina heritage. "Feisty, because I asked a question. You pulled me over for a taillight, not an interrogation. If that's all, I'll be on my way." Harlan's face twisted into a scowl. "Talking back, huh? Step out of the vehicle." "What? For what reason?" Elena's voice rose, steady but firm. "Now." Billy Ray yanked the door open, his hand on his holster. Reluctantly, Elena complied, her heart pounding. The rain had picked up, soaking her blouse. "This is harassment. I know my rights." Harlan grabbed her arm roughly. "Rights? In this town, we make the rules." Before she could protest further, he spun her around, slamming her against the car. Cold metal clicked around her wrists, handcuffs, tight enough to bite into her skin. "You're under arrest for resisting an officer," Billy Ray sneered, shoving her toward their cruiser. "Resisting? I did nothing." Elena's voice cracked, not from fear, but from the injustice boiling inside her. Memories flooded back. Her mother's deportation scare when Elena was 10, the way cops had laughed as they dragged her away for a paperwork error. Elena had vowed never to be that helpless again. She had built a life, a home, a career, a 12-year-old daughter named Sophia who idolized her. And now this. As they forced her into the back of the cruiser, the deputies laughed. "Should have kept your mouth shut, sweetheart," Harlan said, starting the engine. "A night in lockup will teach you some manners." The drive to the station was a blur of taunts and rain-smeared windows. Elena's mind raced. She wasn't just any woman, she carried a secret, one buried deep in her past. Her late husband, Colonel Marcus Vasquez, had been a decorated Marine, killed in action 5 years ago in Afghanistan. But before that, he had connections, deep ones, in the highest echelons of the military. Marcus had given her a number, etched into a pendant she wore around her neck. "Only use it if your life is in danger," he had whispered on his last deployment. It's a direct line to the Pentagon. To General Harlan, no relation to that scum, thank God. "He'll move mountains for you." Elena had laughed it off then, but now, with her hands bound and her dignity stripped, she felt the weight of that promise. These deputies weren't just bullies, they were predators. Whispers in town spoke of women who had disappeared after similar stops, or emerged bruised and broken. Elena couldn't risk it, not for herself, not for Sophia. At the station, a dingy brick building on the outskirts of town, they hauled her inside. The desk sergeant, an older man named Earl, raised an eyebrow but said nothing as Harlan and Billy Ray paraded her like a trophy. "One phone call," Elena demanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. That's my right, Harlan smirked. Sure, call your lawyer. See if they care about a mouthy immigrant. She wasn't an immigrant, born and raised in the US, but she let it slide. They uncuffed one hand just enough for her to dial. Her fingers trembled as she punched in the number from memory, the pendant's engraving guiding her. The line rang once, twice. Then a crisp voice answered. Pentagon secure line. Authentication required. Elena's heart skipped. This is Elena Vasquez, widow of Colonel Marcus Vasquez. Code. Echo Foxtrot 9 Alpha. A pause. Then. Authenticated. Transferring to General Harlan. The deputies watched, amused, thinking she was bluffing. Billy Ray leaned in. Who you calling? The president. The general's voice boomed through the receiver, warm yet authoritative. Elena, my God, it's been years. What's wrong? Tears welled in her eyes for the first time. General, I'm in trouble. 2 deputies in Eldridge, Virginia, Harlan Crow and Billy Ray Tucker, they've arrested me without cause, handcuffed me for talking back. I think they're dangerous. Marcus said to call if. Say no more, the general interrupted, his tone shifting to steel. Give me 5 minutes. Stay safe. The line went dead. Elena hung up, her face a mask of calm. The deputies burst into laughter. Pentagon, that's a good one, Harlan guffawed. What, you married to Superman or something? But as they led her to a holding cell, the atmosphere changed. Phones began ringing off the hook. First, the desk sergeant's line lit up. Earl answered, his face paling. Yes, sir, but, understood. Then the sheriff's personal cell buzzed. Sheriff Landry, a rotund man in his 50s, stumbled out of his office, sweat beading on his forehead. What the hell is going on? Harlan and Billy Ray exchanged uneasy glances. Just booked a mouthy one, boss. Landry's eyes widened as he listened to his caller. The Pentagon, Jesus Christ, release her, now. The cell door flew open. Elena stepped out, rubbing her wrists. But it was too late for apologies. The general hadn't just called the locals, he had unleashed a storm. Within hours, federal agents swarmed the station. It turned out Harlan and Billy Ray weren't just bullies, they were criminals. An anonymous tip, funneled through Pentagon channels, led to a raid on their homes. Hidden in Harlan's basement, stacks of evidence from unsolved cases, drugs planted on innocents, bribes from local gangs, even videos of assaults on detainees. Billy Ray's truck held a cache of unregistered weapons and stolen property. But the real bombshell came from Elena's call. General Harlan, a man with the ear of the Secretary of Defense, had pulled strings that reached into the FBI's cold case files. Harlan Crow, irony of ironies, no relation to the general, had a sealed juvenile record that was suddenly unsealed, involvement in a hate crime that left a young Latino boy paralyzed. Billy Ray, ties to a white supremacist group, documented through encrypted chats. The town watched in shock as the deputies were arrested on the spot. Charges piled up: corruption, civil rights violations, assault, and more. But the Pentagon's involvement went deeper. Marcus Vasquez had been a hero, his death a national loss. Elena's call invoked a debt of honor. Whispers spread. Black Ops teams monitored the situation, ensuring no loose ends. Trials came swift and merciless. Harlan and Billy Ray, once untouchable, crumbled under the weight of federal prosecution. Witnesses emerged, women they had silenced, families they had terrorized. Elena testified, her voice unwavering, recounting every taunt, every bruise. Sophia sat in the courtroom, proud of her mother's strength. Sentences were handed down. Life without parole for both, in a maximum security prison far from Eldridge. But, ends their lives forever, wasn't just about bars. In prison, their reputations preceded them. Inmates, many victims of similar abuses, ensured their existence was a living hell. Harlan, the once mighty bully, was found one morning with a shank in his gut. Self-defense, the guards ruled, but everyone knew better. Billy Ray followed months later, poisoned in the chow hall by an unseen hand. Eldridge changed after that. The sheriff resigned in disgrace. New policies were implemented. Body cams mandatory, diversity training enforced. Elena became a local hero, her story inspiring a wave of reforms. She founded a nonprofit for victims of police brutality, channeling her pain into purpose. Years later, Elena stood at Marcus's grave, Sophia by her side. He saved me one last time, she whispered, fingering the pendant. Sophia hugged her. No, Mom, you saved yourself, and them. Their lives ended the moment they underestimated you. In the end, it wasn't just a call to the Pentagon, it was a reckoning. A reminder that power, when wielded by the just, could topple even the mightiest tyrants. Alina's spirit, unbroken, shone as a beacon for the voiceless, proving that one voice, raised in defiance, could echo forever.